In the early 20th century, a figure arrived on Western shores who would fundamentally alter our understanding of human potential. Paramahansa Yogananda, the great yoga master and author of Autobiography of a Yogi, did not just bring a philosophy, he brought a practical science of the soul. We are beginning an exploration into his revolutionary approach to health, the secrets to divine healing that reside in the space where spirit meets biology. Yogananda's central premise was radical, yet spiritually precise. The human body is not merely a biological machine. Instead, he described the body as a divine battery. Just as a battery stores electricity to power a device, our physical form stores and radiates life force, or prana. When this battery runs low, or the connection to the cosmic source is obstructed by wrong thinking or living, we experience the friction of illness and the weight of suffering. Most people view divine healing as a rare miracle, a random act of grace that breaks the laws of nature. But Yogananda taught that healing is actually the application of higher spiritual laws that most of us simply have not been taught. It is not about defying nature. It is about accessing a more subtle, powerful layer of it that governs the physical realm. We will examine how Yogananda's techniques allow us to consciously draw energy through the medulla oblongata, the sensitive point at the base of the brain he called the mouth of God. If you have ever felt helpless against pain, remember this: you are not just a physical entity. You are a manifestation of divine will, capable of recharging your entire being through the hidden power of the mind and the restoration of your inner joy.
In 1920, Paramahansa Yogananda stepped off a ship in Boston into an America that was falling head over heels for the wonders of material medicine. This was the era of the Roaring Twenties, a time when the Western world increasingly believed every human ailment could eventually be solved with a pill, a vaccine, or a scalpel. But Yogananda brought a revolutionary perspective that completely flipped the script. He observed a society obsessed with the physical outer shell, while completely ignoring the invisible power plant that actually kept the body running. He taught that the physical body is merely a secondary reflection, a shadow, if you will, of the soul's inherent perfection. To Yogananda, illness wasn't just a biological malfunction or a stroke of bad luck. It was a fundamental lack of alignment. Think of it like a radio that's tuned slightly off frequency, producing harsh, crackling static instead of a clear, beautiful signal. That static in our lives, whether it manifests as chronic pain, exhaustion, or deep emotional distress, is a signal that we've accidentally disconnected from our true nature. One of his most profound yet often overlooked secrets was the dynamic relationship between human will and cosmic energy. He argued that the human will acts as the master switch for health. When we live in fear or believe we are helpless victims of our genetics, we effectively shut off the flow of prana, the vital life force. But by consciously reconnecting our individual will to the cosmic source, we open the floodgates of vitality. Yogananda challenged the materialist paradigm by asserting that the ultimate healer isn't found in a laboratory, but within the realization of our own divinity. Healing is the process of reconnecting the human battery to the eternal current. If you've ever found yourself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling and asking the heavy question, "Why me?" you're certainly not alone. It's perhaps the most difficult question a human can ask during times of physical or emotional pain. Paramahansa Yogananda offered a profound perspective that shifts us from being helpless victims to being conscious participants in our own spiritual evolution. He explained that suffering and disease aren't random accidents or cruel punishments handed down by a distant judgmental deity. Instead, they are the specific workings of the law of karma, the inexorable law of cause and effect that governs the universe. Yogananda taught that our current physical condition is essentially the harvest of seeds planted through our own past thoughts, habits, and actions. Think of your life like a vast garden. If seeds of disharmony, chronic stress, or physical neglect were planted in the past, perhaps even in previous incarnations, those seeds eventually sprout as present-day ailments. However, here is the crucial shift. Suffering is not a dead end, it is a teacher. It's the soul's way of signaling that we have drifted away from our natural state of divine harmony. It is a necessary friction, a divine nudge designed to lead the soul back to its true source. When we stop viewing illness as a terrifying enemy and start seeing it as a message to be decoded, its grip begins to loosen. By recognizing that we are the ones who originally set these causes in motion, we realize we also possess the inherent power to set new healing causes in motion today. Understanding the why of illness is the first step in dissolving its power, allowing us to finally reconnect with our inner healer and restore the peace that is our birthright.
To truly understand why we fall ill, Yogananda invites us to look far beyond the physical germ or the failing organ. He points to a metaphysical root cause he calls soul forgetfulness. You see, most of us live under a constant delusion that we are this bag of bones and skin. When we identify too strongly with the flesh, we essentially volunteer to be victims of the material world's fluctuations. Yogananda often explained that as soon as you believe you are only the body, you become subject to the body's laws of decay and disease. Think of it this way. Your physical form is governed by an underlying energy body. Chronic stress, toxic habits, and living without a clear spiritual purpose act like static on a radio frequency. They create a profound disharmony in your prana or life force. This energetic imbalance is the real pre-disease state. When your inner energy is fragmented by worldly worries, it can no longer sustain the physical cells with the same vitality, and that's when the ailment finally manifests in the flesh. This concept is actually incredibly empowering. If disease begins with an identification with the material, then health begins with a reclamation of the spiritual. By acknowledging that your current state is a result of these energetic patterns, you realize you have the power to change your destiny. You aren't just a biological accident, you are a divine being. Breaking the habit of soul forgetfulness is the first step toward lasting restoration. When you realign your purpose and redirect your life force, you stop fighting the symptoms and start healing the source. Paramahansa Yogananda often described the mind as the commander-in-chief of the physical body. This is a profound shift in perspective. Instead of viewing our bodies as mere biological machines, Yogananda taught that every single cell is actually a conscious entity. Think of your body as a vast, intelligent organization where trillions of workers, your cells, are constantly tuned in to the frequency of the head office. When we dwell on fear, worry, or anger, we aren't just having a bad day. We are broadcasting toxic commands to our biology. Yogananda explained that these negative mental states act as physiological poisons. They literally paralyze the cell's natural healing mechanisms. If the commander is shouting that a catastrophe is coming, the workers stop their repair jobs and enter a state of panic. This is how chronic stress creates physical disease. It is a direct result of the poison of a troubled mind. But the flip side is where the miracle happens. The mind also holds the most potent medicine in existence. Thoughts of joy, peace, and courage act as biological signals that instruct your cells to regenerate. When you consciously project a thought of divine courage, you are restructuring your cellular biology in real time. You are telling those trillions of conscious entities that the environment is secure and it is time to thrive. This isn't abstract philosophy, it's the conscious direction of internal energy. By training the commander-in-chief to remain in a state of calm, unshakable joy, you provide the perfect blueprint for the body to restore itself to its natural state of health. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to wear their illnesses like a badge of identity? Yogananda taught a profound and somewhat radical concept called the mental mold. He argued that many illnesses linger long after the initial physical cause is gone because we've created a psychological blueprint of the disease. Think of it like a cast for a sculpture. If the mold is shaped like a broken bone or a chronic ache, the life force flowing through you will simply fill that same shape over and over again, reinforcing the pathology. We often unconsciously nurture these molds by the way we speak and think. We say, my migraine or my back pain. By claiming ownership, we solidify the habit in the subconscious. Yogananda insisted that the first step to true permanent healing is to break this mold. How?
by a fierce refusal to identify with the illness. You aren't a sick person. You are an immortal soul temporarily experiencing a physical malfunction. The shift in internal dialogue is critical. Instead of reinforcing the limitation with "I am sick," you must pivot to a higher truth. I am the health of the spirit. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's a systematic dismantling of a mental habit. You are telling your subconscious that the old blueprint is invalid and replacing it with the original design of perfection. Yogananda believed that this mental shift is a prerequisite for any permanent recovery. Until you shatter the mental image of the disease, the body will continue to follow the old, distorted map. Healing begins the moment you stop looking at the symptoms and start asserting your inherent spiritual wholeness. To maintain health, Yogananda teaches that we must first understand the hidden mechanics of prana. Prana isn't just a vague, mystical concept. It is the subtle, cosmic electricity that sustains every single cell in your body. Think of your physical form like a sophisticated radio. While the transistors and wires are material, they are entirely useless without the invisible electrical current that brings them to life and allows them to function. Now here is the revolutionary insight Yogananda shared that fundamentally challenges our standard view of biology. We do not live primarily on food, water, or even oxygen. While these are necessary secondary sources, like the external layers of a battery, they aren't the source of the spark itself. The true, primary source of our vitality is cosmic energy flowing directly into the physical body through what Yogananda beautifully described as the mouth of God. This sacred mouth is physically situated at the medulla oblongata, the area at the base of your brain where the spinal cord begins. In the deep yogic tradition, this is the principal gateway for life force to enter from the surrounding universe. When this portal is wide open and the flow of energy is unobstructed, you experience vibrant, radiant health. However, when your connection to this cosmic power source is weakened, perhaps through chronic stress or a lack of conscious will, the body's electrical system falters and illness begins to take root. Understanding the medulla oblongata changes everything. It means you are not a closed system dependent solely on external nutrients. Instead, you are an open system designed to be constantly recharged by an infinite supply of cosmic power. By consciously directing your attention and will to this point, you can learn to draw in more life force, effectively recharging your internal battery directly from the infinite powerhouse of the universe. Think of your body as a highly sophisticated instrument, but one that isn't powered by chemical fuel alone. Yogananda explained that the real engine of our existence is prana, the intelligent, conscious life force that flows through your nervous system like electricity through copper wires. To understand healing, we must understand this internal grid. He described our nerves as the literal wires of the human machine. When these wires are clear, flexible, and receptive, the divine life current surges through them effortlessly, keeping every cell vibrating with health. But here is where most of us struggle. Yogananda taught that when we live in a state of chronic tension, fear, or physical wrong living, these energetic wires become clogged. Imagine a pipe filled with debris, or an electrical wire covered in thick corrosion. The flow of prana is restricted. This restriction is the hidden mechanics of decay. When the life force can't reach an organ or a limb because the nervous pathway is shut down by mental or physical stress, that part of the body begins to fail. It's not just a biological breakdown, it's an energy crisis. The secret to immense vitality lies in keeping the nervous system calm and the energy channels wide open. Your thoughts act as the switches for the system. By practicing deep relaxation and mental stillness, you aren't just resting, you are actually scrubbing the wires. You are removing the resistance of the ego and the body's tension, allowing your physical form to be constantly bathed in rejuvenating cosmic light. In this state of openness, the body becomes a transparent medium for God's healing power, instantly recharging your cells with the same infinite energy that sustains the stars. As we delve deeper into Yogananda's healing system, we must address the engine that powers the entire process, faith. But Yogananda wasn't talking about the kind of faith most people imagine. He made a crucial distinction between what he called blind faith and dynamic faith. Blind faith is often just a passive hope, a wishful thinking that stays stuck in the intellect. It's fragile, and when healing doesn't happen instantly, it easily crumbles into doubt. Dynamic faith, however, is what Yogananda described as a soul conviction. It is a deep-seated certainty that arises from direct, personal experience of the divine presence within. It's not just a belief, it's a living, vibrating realization. To cultivate this, Yogananda taught that we must align our individual human will with the divine will. Think of your personal will as a small stream, and the divine will as the mighty, infinite ocean. When the stream flows into the ocean, it suddenly possesses the ocean's power. This is the bridge between our finite human limitations and the infinite healing reservoir of the Creator. You aren't just begging for health from a distant deity, you are commanding the life force with the authority of a child of God. By practicing meditation and consistently affirming the truth of your spiritual nature, even when the physical senses report pain, you transition from hoping to be well to knowing you are one with the source of all health. This dynamic application of will is the secret key that unlocks the body's internal pharmacy, transforming a mental concept into a physical reality. It is the ultimate act of spiritual surrender and divine empowerment combined.
Yogananda often spoke about the human will not as a separate, isolated faculty, but as a spark of the divine will itself. Think about that for a second. The same force that maintains the orbits of the stars and the vibration of atoms is the very essence of your ability to choose and to act. When we talk about healing, the will is the mechanism that bridges the gap between the physical body and the infinite reservoir of cosmic energy. Yogananda used a fascinating analogy, the switch of the will. Just as you flip a switch to flood a dark room with light, a determined, unwavering intent acts as the trigger to command the life force, or prana, to surge through the body. It isn't just wishing for health or hoping for a miracle, it's an authoritative command. When you exert your willpower with focused intensity, you aren't just trying to get better, you are literally tapping into the fundamental power that created the universe. Imagine a diseased organ or a painful joint. In Yogananda's teaching, that area is experiencing a blockage or a depletion of life energy. By applying the switch of the will, you direct the flow of prana specifically to that location. You are essentially telling the cells to realign with their perfect divine blueprint. This isn't a passive process. It requires a mental click, a moment of absolute certainty where you refuse to accept anything less than restoration. This focused intensity is what allows the life force to flood the diseased area, affecting an immediate, subtle transformation that eventually manifests in the physical form. It's the realization that your small will is backed by the almighty will. When the human will vibrates in harmony with the divine, the body has no choice but to follow that lead. It's about moving from a state of I hope to a state of I will, unlocking the latent potential within every atom of your being.
We're moving now into one of Yogananda's most practical and revolutionary gifts for physical vitality, the energization exercises. He often described the human body as a sophisticated biological battery that, unfortunately, most of us let run low. While we typically rely on external sources like food and oxygen for power, Yogananda taught that our primary, inexhaustible source is the cosmic energy surrounding us. He developed 38 specific, rhythmic exercises designed to tap into this infinite reservoir. The secret mechanism behind this is the medulla oblongata, located at the base of the brain. Yogananda referred to this spot as the mouth of God because it serves as the entry point for life force, or prana, into the body. The logic is simple yet profound. By using conscious will, you can literally pull energy through the medulla and distribute it to every single body part. The technique utilizes a unique double breath, a short and long inhalation, coupled with a systematic tensing of the muscles from low to medium to high tension, followed by a double exhalation and a conscious relaxation. This isn't weightlifting, it's a method of energy displacement. When you tense a specific muscle group with intense will, you create a vacuum that the cosmic energy rushes to fill. By performing these 38 movements daily, you consciously recharge your body battery, flushing all 27 trillion cells with fresh prana. This high-frequency vibration makes the physical frame a far less hospitable environment for disease, bacteria, and chronic fatigue. You are essentially turning up the voltage of your inner light, ensuring that your nerves and tissues are saturated with divine health rather than stagnant decay. Let's dive into one of Yogananda's most transformative tools, scientific healing affirmations. This is far beyond simple positive thinking. Yogananda taught that words are actually condensed vibrations of energy. When you speak a word with deep concentration and what he called soul force, you are essentially broadcasting a command to your physical cells. He often used the analogy of a radio. Your voice is the transmitter, and your body is the receiver. For a healing affirmation to be effective, it must vibrate through 3 distinct layers of your consciousness: the conscious, the subconscious, and finally, the superconscious. The technique itself is a graduated process. You begin by chanting the affirmation loudly, which commands the attention of the conscious mind and your physical senses. Then you move to a whisper, which allows the vibration to penetrate the subconscious, the storehouse of our past habits and disease thoughts. Finally, you transition into purely mental repetition. In this stillness, the vibration enters the superconscious mind, the seat of divine intuition and power. Consider different applications. For physical healing, you might use "Thy healing life energy is flowing through me, recharging every cell." For mental peace, "I am the master of my thoughts, calm and poised." The key is the vibration of the voice and the intensity of the will. Yogananda believed that if you broadcast health with the absolute authority of the soul, you can literally reorganize the energetic patterns of the body. You aren't just wishing for health, you are scientifically projecting it into existence through the power of the word.
Now, let's go deeper into the sanctuary of the soul, the role of meditation and profound stillness as a literal healing tool. Yogananda emphasized that our bodies are naturally geared toward health, but this restorative process is constantly hindered by what he called the noise of the ego and the senses. Imagine your body is a high-performance machine, but the operator is constantly toggling 1,000 different switches at once. That operator is your ego, reacting to every sensory input and every anxious thought, creating a chaotic electrical storm within the nervous system. In the silence of deep meditation, we finally step away from those controls. When you achieve that inner quiet, the body's natural intelligence can operate unhindered. Yogananda taught that the state of samadhi, or divine union, is the ultimate environment for healing. During samadhi, a fascinating physiological shift occurs. The life force, or prana, actually retreats from the 5 senses. It pulls back from the eyes, the ears, and the external nerves. Instead of being dissipated into the external world, this immense reservoir of energy is redirected inward. It focuses entirely on repairing and spiritualizing your physical form from the inside out. Think of it as a localized recharging of your biological battery. Without the drain of sensory perception, the life force can penetrate the very atomic structure of your cells, dissolving blockages and restoring the divine blueprint of health. This isn't just relaxation, it is a conscious withdrawal that allows the inner healer to work without interference. In that stillness, you aren't just resting, you are being remade by the very power that created you. Yogananda taught that healing prayers are far more than just earnest requests. They are a scientific method of channeling life force. This brings us to the profound power of group vibration. When several individuals focus their combined will on a single healing intention, the energy doesn't just add up, it multiplies. This collective concentration creates a spiritual power plant capable of broadcasting healing energy across vast distances. But how do we send this energy to someone miles away? Yogananda explained that we are all interconnected through a cosmic energy field, a divine matrix where space and time are secondary to consciousness. To begin a healing prayer, Yogananda suggested a specific methodology to awaken our inner batteries.
He instructed practitioners to rub their hands together vigorously. This physical friction generates a palpable magnetic energy, concentrating the life force, or prana, in the palms and fingers. As you feel this warmth and magnetism building, you raise your arms and begin to chant the sacred vibration of Om. In this state, you aren't just making a sound, you are broadcasting a divine frequency. You visualize the person in need being saturated with brilliant white light. By vibrating Om, you are using the cosmic motor of the universe to carry your healing well directly into the cells and soul of another. You essentially become a human radio station, transmitting health and peace through the ether. This practice serves as a powerful reminder that we are never truly separate. Through the power of divine will and the vehicle of cosmic vibration, we can serve as channels for God's grace, restoring harmony to others from within the silence of our own hearts.
Throughout all these techniques, energization, affirmations, and prayers, we've been moving toward what Yogananda called the ultimate cure. Now, let's be honest. Most of us approach healing because we want the pain to stop or we want to feel young again. But Yogananda offered a much more radical perspective. He argued that while physical health is a noble and necessary goal, the only true, final, and absolute healing is the liberation from the cycle of birth and death itself. Think about it. Even if you heal every ailment today, the body remains subject to time. The ultimate cure isn't just a healthy body. It's realizing your absolute oneness with God. This leads us to a fascinating spiritual paradox. Yogananda taught that when we finally stop obsessing over the physical form, when we stop worrying about every ache and pain, and instead realize we are the immortal, changeless spirit, the body often reaches its highest state of health as a natural byproduct. Why? Because fear is the greatest toxin. When you shift your consciousness from the mortal ego to the immortal soul, you remove the mental blocks and anxieties that stifle your life force. You stop fighting the body and start letting the divine flow through it. By seeking the healer more than the healing, you align yourself with the source of all life. You realize you aren't a fragile machine made of flesh. You are the ocean of consciousness, and the body is just a single wave. In that realization, the wave becomes perfectly calm, vibrant, and whole. As we draw this journey to a close, we reflect on the profound legacy Paramahansa Yogananda left for a world often overwhelmed by physical and mental suffering. We've explored the revolutionary idea that illness isn't just a biological accident, but a call to realign our life force. By understanding that suffering exists as a teacher, guiding us back to our spiritual roots, we shift from a state of helplessness to one of self-mastery. The core secrets we've uncovered, the hidden tower of the mind, the conscious direction of prana through energization exercises, and the dynamic application of divine will, provide a roadmap that remains as vital today as it was a century ago. Yogananda taught that the body is a battery, and the cosmic energy surrounding us is the infinite charging station. Through daily meditation and scientific healing prayers, we don't just ask for health, we demand our birthright as children of the divine. Remember, the healer you have been searching for is not outside of you. It is the very consciousness that breathes through your lungs and beats within your heart. When you use affirmations to rewire the subconscious and stillness to commune with the superconscious, you bridge the gap between human limitation and divine perfection. The ultimate cure is not the temporary absence of pain, but the permanent realization of your oneness with God. As you step back into your daily life, carry this sacred truth. You are a spark of the infinite. Through faith, will, and the mastery of your internal energy, you can reclaim the peace, health, and joy that are naturally yours. The path to wholeness is open. You need only walk it. To truly master these secrets, we must look at Yogananda's most practical tool, the energization exercises. He taught that the medulla oblongata, located at the base of the brain, is the mouth of God, the primary entry point for cosmic prana into the human body. By using our focused will to direct this energy to any diseased part, we move beyond the limitations of biology. Think of your body as a rechargeable battery. It needs to be plugged into the infinite source, not just patched up with external temporary remedies.
When you practice his specific healing affirmations, you aren't just repeating empty words. You are vibrating a spiritual truth into your subconscious and superconscious mind. Yogananda explained that a strong thought of health, backed by an unyielding divine will, can literally